Unlocking the secrets to success and fulfillment is a journey, and few understand its value like Poirier, having gleaned wisdom from thousands of successful leaders. He's on a mission to share those insights with the world and our audience. Corey, we are really happy to have you here. And you have picked the brains of some of the world's highest achievers. What led you to start seeking out those conversations?
An obsession. You know, if I can be blunt, I just became obsessed with wanting to learn why people did what they did. And then I feel the other side to that is I became obsessed with learning how did they get to the top, let's call it 1%. Like how did they make it happen beyond all the competition they had to get to the top of what they're doing? And I felt the only way to know that is to go and sit in front of them and ask those questions. So an obsession surrounded by curiosity.
So was this always something from a young age that you were passionate about and curious about?
You know, I don't think so. I didn't interview people or people I knew. I didn't ask a million questions to people when I was younger. When it started was I was 19 and I launched a newspaper, and I was in this entrepreneurial program, and they said if you want the seed money, the capital to launch, you need to launch the business. So I had to launch the business to get the seed money. We launched it, ran it for about a year, and it was a small business newspaper. And the idea came to me because we were in this course and we were actually talking to all these entrepreneurs. And I said, look at all we're learning. What if we were to build something where we can do this every day? And that really, I think, was the start of the interviews. But once I started doing it, I realized I really dig this.
And now you've done several TED Talks, you're a best-selling author. Can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, so I guess, who I am, really at the end of the day, well, first of all, I was raised by a single mother. I grew up in a small, tiny little town. I still live in that tiny little town. Now I say I still live there, I moved all around, but I found my way back. But I raised by a single mother and grew up in this small town. I barely graduated high school. I got a 49+1, which means I legally graduated, but I don't know if I technically graduated, because nobody gives you a 49+1 when you need a 50. Yeah. They literally tell you, I gave you the +1. And I graduated without knowing the difference between fiction and nonfiction. And I didn't read a book until age 27.
Oh my
so that's my origin story.
Okay, wow. And so you have spoken to, I think, 7,500 of these really amazing, successful people. And what is the most common characteristic that you find with these people?
So number one, meaning the top trait, I know the top 5, and the top 1 stands out like a sore thumb. It's that they live on purpose. So when I say live on purpose, what I mean is they figured out what they've been called to do, and they literally immerse themselves in that every single day. And you can liken it to musicians. You think of all the top musicians, and you say how they've survived so long and how they've lasted in such a tough business, but they love what they do. And so really the quick, easy answer is they have passions in their life, and then they found a core purpose or a calling or a why or whatever thing you want to put on it. That by far is the number 1 trait. The rest are, jump down quite a bit, and then they're close to each other, but that one stands out on its own.
That's the common ground. And now I was watching one of your TED Talks, and you asked, a bunch of people what they would tell their younger self.
Right. What
was the most common answer, or what you found most fascinating, what people said?
So what I found fascinating is how most of us, I shouldn't say most of us, it's a generalized statement, but a lot of people are saying, I wish I could change this. I wish I could change that. I wish this didn't happen. I have this regret. So I'll tell you a big one is the word regret doesn't seem to have a definition to most people in terms of what they would tell their younger self. Meaning, what they usually say is they would go back, if they did go back, and they would sit in front of the younger self and they would say, I just want to let you know, you're doing a great job. Don't change one morsel of what you're doing, because I like who we are now, and I don't want you to impact that. So don't change a thing. So that's what I mean when I say most people would say, you're all right, you're all set, don't change anything at all. And I find that fascinating because, like I say now, we sometimes say, I regret that I did that a month ago or a year ago. But when you get to that place where you feel this is where I'm meant to be, what I found is most of those people say, you're on the right track, and please do not mess this up.
Yeah. And now you have a book coming out soon, The Enlightened Passenger. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I sure can. So the Enlightened Passenger is basically, the passenger connection to it is it's on a plane. It takes place on a plane. It's a parable, a fictional book, and it's 2 strangers on a plane, old guy, young guy, who end up seated next to each other. because the old guy got bumped up to first class, and the young guy's a business guy who's like, you can't teach me anything, I know it all. And so he wanted to just go to sleep and ignore this old guy, but the old guy somehow lets him know that he's been successful, the old guy has. And so the young guy's like, I didn't want to listen to you, but now I want to know how you made your money and how you've been successful. And so once he opens up, and it's awkward and it's a reluctant conversation for quite a bit, but once he sort of opens up and takes it in, the old guy starts teaching him these life lessons that the old guy's learned in his journey. So it could be anything from synchronicity, if people are familiar with that term. It could be like him saying, here's the synchronicities I had in my life that I leaned into, and this is how it's impacted my life. So the old guy's teaching the young guy life lessons based on the old guy's journey, and that's really, it's an entire flight of experience, and then the reader obviously, and there's 10 lessons in it, the reader obviously gets those lessons as they're reading the story.
Wow. Well, I feel like everything you talk about, you talk about, how to be successful, but also, how to live a happy life and how to be fulfilled. And we're going to put your website down below for our viewers to go and check you out. But Corey, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Incredible.
Thank you.
We're back after this.